Hello learners, so we've been discussing about MTD versus Chile case. In the last video, we looked at the factual circumstance of the case, and in this video, we look at the arguments and the decision with regard to FET violation claimed by MET against Chile. So here, for the purpose of making an FET violation, again, we could see MTD had invoked the MFN clause and borrowed provisions from other treaties that Chile had signed. But the basic contention of MTD for alleging a violation of FET clause was that the approval of FIC applications and then subsequent signing of FIC contract that created a strong expectations in the mind of MTD that the project will go through. And then later on, when Chile cited its own zoning laws and stated that this project cannot go on, that is a violation of fair and equitable treatment clause. So basically, this was the contention here. But Chile, what it was saying was, Chile stated that it had communicated with regard to these difficulties earlier itself to MTD, and particularly Chile stated that its officials met MTD on 6th November 1996, right. So this meeting is important because they were the claimant was in fact refusing that such a meeting had even took place, and the claimant submitted the passport copies of all its officials and stated that they were not even here, and 1996 was the time MTD was negotiating with Mr. Fontaine itself, right. So they submitted their passports and all of that, and when Chile was asked to submit proof, you give us some proof that the meeting had happened, Chile was not able to do so except with regard to one calendar entry, and the calendar entry also merely read as Malaysia. So then there was nothing else that Chile could do. So the tribunal stated that whether with the meeting or without the meeting, it still had to decide the question of violation of FET clause, and that's on one side. But since the main contention of foreign investor is that FIC had approved the application, and there were two applications that were made, and subsequent to the applications, FIC contracts were signed between MTD and FIC. So now even in this contracts, the very fact that contract was signed and its application was accepted, that created a legitimate expectation on the part of investor. This was a core argument, and here on the other hand, Chile was contending that even if you look at FIC, the contract, clause 4 of the FIC contract states that the application is accepted or the project would go through without prejudice to other requirements under other laws, right. So under clause 4 of FIC contract was something that was relied on by Chile to say that even if they get an approval of FIC, the investor has to comply with the other laws and regulations of Chile, only then they can make a claim. So the point here is, can Chile rely on clause 4 to say that FIC's approval cannot create a strong expectation on the minds of investor? And that is when the tribunal had to look at the law that governs FIC and its operations itself. So the law that is relevant for this particular purpose was Decree Law 600. So DL 600 was relevant. See, DL 600 stated that any change in location of the project that is mentioned in these application, if it has to be changed, then an approval of FIC had to be taken. So that was again mentioned there. Then DL Law 600 stated that the composition of FIC will be all minister level positions with the exception of president of the bank, right. So and then the quorum for the meeting was only 3 members, and the decision will be taken through simple majority. So these were the provisions that were mentioned in DL 600. Then also there was one more provision which stated that Article 15, that executive vice presidency was responsible for coordination and had to coordinate with other departments with regard to any approval that had to be taken before the FIC applications is granted. So that coordination was, the obligation to coordinate was levied on executive vice presidency. So by looking at the DL 600 which governs the FIC operation, then the tribunal had come to the conclusion that there is some significance that we have to attach to FIC because it's a minister level organization and commission. The commission the composition of the commission is minister level. So some sort of a significance had to be given to them. So that was a decision that the tribunal had arrived at. But Chile contended that it is merely a primary approval, that is, the approval is given for inflow of funds into the country. Then the MTD was questioning, if that is only the role of FIC, then how is it different from the role of Central Bank of Chile, which had already approved the inflow of funds into the country. So then they were also questioning it. So essentially the tribunal had to decide what is going to be the weightage of the decision that or the decision of approving the investment that FIC had taken. So in that context again, MTD and Chile were contesting. MTD was saying a lot of significance had to be given that the project was approved by FIC and therefore it created a strong expectation. But Chile was contending that it was merely it cannot have that much of significance. It was merely a decision that was taken that allowed the inflow of funds. And one of the things that you should note here is when the applications were decided, Minwu minister was not present. So here we could see that Chile was saying whether he had, even if Minwu minister was present, that does not make any difference with regard to the outcome. The outcome is still a preliminary decision to admit the investment had taken place, which is subject to other approvals and necessary permits from other departments. So the tribunal on the whole looked at the DL and the role of FIC, and it stated that since it's minister level organization, significance had to be taken, and also on the fact of article 15 of DL 600 giving the coordination obligation on executive vice presidency. So it stated that that also has to be given some weightage, the very fact, and the tribunal concluded that the fact that FIC had approved the MTD's application resulted in some expectation on the part of investor that the project will go through. Now with regard to the due diligence, Chile stated that MTD should have done sufficient due diligence. One, Chile contested that on 6th November 1996 itself, they had communicated certain difficulties that was present, and the claimant was supposed to aware that the zoning was not there and the land that they had proposed was under the agricultural use, was zoned for agriculture use, and Chile stated that the claimant MTD had heavily relied on the representation made by Mr. Fontaine that it could be easily rezoned. So that is not the case. They could have ideally done some sort of due diligence requirements. Now here with regard to the contention of due diligence, the tribunal also agreed with Chile and stated that, and it also quoted the dicta that was given in Maffesini case, BIT is not an insurance against all business risk, and therefore claimant is the one who had to bear all the cost associated with the business risk, and they were supposed to do the due diligence. One other contention that had come up in this context was the environmental concerns that was raised by the Chilean authorities after 1998. So MTD stated that after 2 years only in 1998 they started raising all environmental concerns. The MTD's environmental impact study was rejected by the Chilean agency as well. So that was again questioned. So here in this context we could see the claimant making an argument that they cite environmental concern rejected the EIS, but there was an amendment to PMRS, which is modification number 48, and that was for a broader region which also included the place where the land was situated, PIRC, right. So that modification number 48 to PMRS sort of permitted certain urban activities to take place for 34,000 hectares, whereas the project related only to 600 hectares, and the EIS were, according to the claimant, the EIS was done in a very rigorous way compared to the DIA, the environmental study that they had conducted on the part of for making modification number 48. So DIA that was conducted for modification number 48 was done in vague terms compared to the EIS that the claimant had done, and therefore how could the modification number 48 could go through, which modified PMRS for making, for rezoning for the southern region of Santiago, which also included this thing. So this was something that the claimant stated that incoherent action of the host state. Now on this particular point, Chile had contended that EIS is required for an specific project, right, to sort of talk about the project related environmental risk. But DIA that was relied on for modification number 48, that is not with regard to any specific project, but was with regard to a broader changes, right. So not with regard to specific project, broader changes of 34,000 hectares. It's not something, it's basically it's talking about the environmental risk that may happen in case of the urban development activities happen in those regions. So it does not need to be detailed. That is what Chile had stated, and here we could see that the discretion is anyway upon Chile to enact laws or to rezone the land and all of that. The discretion is there. So what it had done with regard to the northern region, so if you remember from the facts of the case we discussed, the PMRS was modified in December 1997 with regard to the northern region of Santiago, right. In fact, Sarmi Gonzalez stated that we just modified the PMRS, so we don't want to do it. This was what was communicated by the consulting firm to MTD. So that modification was then to the northern region of Santiago, and then we've seen that modification number 48 was also there, which affected the southern region of Santiago as well. So that Chile stated that they have the discretion. They have the discretion to rezone, but it not necessarily that they are supposed to do it just because FIC applications were accepted. So the tribunal also accepted the arguments of Chile in this regard. It stated that okay, they're not supposed to rezone it. It's not, the claimant do not possess a right of getting the land rezoned by Chile, but the tribunal concluded holistically by looking at all of these factual circumstances and looking at the Croatia Chile BIT, Denmark Chile BIT, stated that the MTD was treated unfairly and inequitably because when FIC's application was accepted, and there was a subsequent FIC contracts were also signed, it sort of means that the government had accepted the project, and later on we could see that they have denied the project because citing urban policy, the land use zoning thing. Right. So, in tribunal, while talking about how MTD was treated fairly and unfairly and inequitably, it also gave a caution that it is not saying that FIC's approval is a blanket authorization, but it merely pointed out to the fact that once FIC's approval had been taken, then it cannot cite to, that means the government, the project will not be denied because of government policy, but then the Chile went ahead and cited its zoning laws to reject the project. So, to that extent, the tribunal stated that there is a violation of FET clause. Please note this particular point because this is very significant when we discuss damages. While talking about the damages, the tribunal stated that Chile has violated the BIT provision, and the MTD also could have protected itself from the business risk. So, the damages is actually split between the investor and the host state in this particular case. So, you need to appreciate the facts of this case to understand why the tribunal had found a violation of FET clause. It's not black and white. I mean, there is no obligation on the part of Chile to exercise its discretion and rezone the land use so that it would facilitate the investment, right? So, that is not, that comes out of this particular decision. So, it clearly stated that FIC's approval, post your FIC's approval, that means there is a signal to the investor that the project is not in violation of any governmental policy. So, and to rely on this, then the tribunal had to examine DL 600, which governed FIC. It looked at various articles and all of that. So, this is how the decision is taken with regard to the allegation of violation of FET clause. And in the next video, we will look at the question of expropriation, and then we will conclude our discussion on MTD versus Chile. Thank you.